Hello guys, can you hear me? You can confirm in the chat you can hear me. And also if you can see my screen.
We can hear you and we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. So welcome to today's webinar. I'm glad you registered and I'm also glad and thank you for creating the time to join us today. So as we let more people join us, you can share where you are joining us from and why you are interested in this webinar, then we'll get started shortly. You can just share in the chat, then we'll get started as I meet the rest. Thank you, Joseph from Nairobi. See you, Godwin.
Probably Captain, you could guide. Do we just do it randomly or is it being typed? You could guide on the best way to go about that.
Yeah, they can just type in the chat.
Great.
Thank you, Robert. Jason. Thank you, Kendrick from Embu. Thank you, Abel. Kiptum. Mohammed from Sierra Leone. So you can keep them coming, then I think we can get started, then the rest will just join us along the way. So like I said, thank you for joining us today. So for those who don't know, my name is Peter Karanja. I am a drone pilot and a freelance writer. I like sharing more about drones and how you can get started in them and reviewing them. So I decided to organize this webinar alongside my colleagues because I realized that a lot of people are getting stuck out here about, yes, you can get the license, but after the license, now what? Some people are even stuck at the licensing part before they get to even understand if there is a career in the drone industry. So this webinar is to make it easier for everyone who wants to get in the drone industry and anyone who wants to grow. They are already in the industry and they would like to expand further than they are at the moment. So as I've covered, a lot of people are wondering, how do I get started? Is getting a license enough? What are the jobs that I can do or I can get once I get my license? what skills do I need to get after I get my license, and how do you stand out in an industry that's growing rapidly. So we are going to cover this using real industry insights as I get help from my fellow panelists. So my fellow co-hosts also, you can help me with in admitting more people as they join in. Then we can move ahead smoothly. So why do most people get stuck after getting their license? So most people, the drone industry of the drone license itself is usually hyped on its own that get a drone license, you're going to get jobs. But there are a lot of people out here who have those licenses, but they are not sure where they're going to work after they get licensed. So other people, they are more focused on just flying the drone. So the drone is just a tool. What you do with it is what sets you apart from the rest. And another issue with beginners is they don't understand the market. So the market keeps changing. There's a time when agriculture is booming. There's a time when you need to do mapping. There's a time when you need to do surveillance. So you need to understand the demand of the market in your current region and how you can tap into this demand in addition to your license. So another reason why I've seen some beginners get stuck is they don't build other skills beyond the license. So the supporting skills that you attach to your license are what you will also increase your chances of growing your career, because if you look at any job posting for a drone pilot, they don't just mention the license. They'll mention something to do with they want you to be able to collect data and process it. They want you to help with the manuals. They want you to help in the admin side of approvals. So you need to add other skills to your license. And another reason why people may get stuck is they don't network or stay visible. You don't need to know a lot to post on LinkedIn or Instagram. You can post your journey. We say that you grow publicly. So if you go out there, you learn something small, you learn how to collect data and you process a small of a mosaic, you share that. Then when there are events that you need to, that are posted, an event like this one or a one-on-one event, uh, a one-on-one event or networking event or conference about the drone industry, you need to be visible in these events so that you can meet like-minded people, meet other people in this industry, so that you can share ideas and see what people may be doing that you're not doing. I personally have really benefited from networking. I've gotten job opportunities from people who we have here in the meeting and in the webinar and in the panel. So networking is really important if you need to grow in this industry, and don't expect job opportunities to just appear because you got your license. Now everyone can get a license. What you need to do is focus on more than the license. So just I've mentioned the truth about licensing. It's just a gateway to get you into the industry. So you need to get that part right. But once you get through the door, you need to know what you need to do further beyond the license so that you can set yourself apart from the industry. So once you get to look for jobs, you can ask yourself, what are companies really looking for? So like I said, you don't have to be perfect. You just need to show the willingness to learn, you be a reliable person, be someone who can be coached, someone who can work in a team, because drone operations are not a one-man thing. Drones, you are often a team because you need to be flying the drone. You have observers, you have people in the office who will help with preparing the SOPs and the rest. Then you have the actual drone pilots. Then You may have security if you are working in high danger zones, so you need to be able to work in a team. You also need to understand basic technical awareness when dealing with drones every day. So drones crash, drones have software issues that need to be updated. So you need to be more tech savvy to fit in a drone company, and you also need to be a problem solver, because as much as the manual tells you what you need to do to fix your drone and everything else, you may need to be more creative to fix these issues. So you need to also be a problem solver. So flying matters, but being reliable, being cautious about safety, being able to fit in a team and to learn, and being able to handle basic technical awareness is an important skill to have. So I hope people are still joining us. I hope you are all together so far.
Yes, affirmative, Captain. We can be able to hear you loud and clear.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
I think we still have a new entrance as we go on.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you. I see you, Cliff Ayodo from Aerolabs, Eric Miner, Customized Aviation. So I see Sospita Opondo, you want to learn about drone career and challenges in tomorrow's African airspace. So also, if you have any questions that you would like us to cover, place them in the chat too, and we're going to cover them at the end of the webinar.
And it's also great to add maybe that it's good to see our industry partners joining us because I heavily or have heavily learned that this industry is more a lot of collaborations and partnerships for us to be able to drive regulations, for us to be able to drive the agenda forward in terms of licensing and also getting new partners into the country. We need a lot of collaborations in the different aspects that we are well versed in. So Wycliffe, shout out to you. I met Wycliffe at the last conference for the wildlife conservation back in, it was at Konza.
Yeah. Thank you, William. So like I mentioned before, once you get your license, it's not enough. It's just a step through the door. The drone industry is much bigger than getting licensed. We have roles that don't even need you to fly the drone or even need you to be licensed, but you still need it just to walk into a drone company. So some of the roles that you can have are observer, mission lead. When you come to collecting drone data, you need to process it. You need to analyze the data to make sure you can get actual or accurate results. You can be a data reviewer, or you can be the maintenance guy who fixes the drones once they have an issue. There are also roles in the sales department, business development. You can also be an instructor. You can also help with compliance, approvals, logistics, and scheduling. So these are all areas that you could work with a drone license, or with just having the knowledge of how drone operations work. So once you get your license, don't limit yourself to just the license itself. Expand your view of how the whole drone operation works, from the regulation to the logistic part. You can find a way to fit in any of these sections in the industry. So some of the fastest growing opportunity areas at the moment include in agriculture spraying, surveying and mapping, infrastructure inspection, security. In Nigeria, we have also seen logistics and delivery by zipline, oil and gas, security operations, conservation, emergency response, and public sector are also on the rise. So it's a matter of knowing who, like maybe you are in school and maybe you're studying a certain degree. It's a matter of knowing how you can link your degree to the growing industries. And this just to mention a few. The industry is still growing. As long as you can solve a specific problem in a specific real world problem with the drone technology, it fits as an opportunity area. So some of the biggest mistakes that you should avoid after you get your license, or you should be aware of before getting your license, is don't just wait after you get the license. When you get it, start expanding your view of what you can do with it. Then specialize. Don't try to do everything. So, like we said, we have agriculture, spraying, surveying, infrastructure. Don't do everything. So, pick one and be good at it before you move to the next one. And one thing I would like to emphasize on is a portfolio. So, a portfolio is just an example or sample of work that you have done in the past. They don't have to be actual jobs, they can be sample jobs that you have participated in. You can go online and find sample data sets to process and create outputs like the mosaic. You digitize it to create a topographic map. You can use that as a portfolio, and the whole process of taking the data, processing it, and presenting it presents you or prepares you for an actual job in the industry. Then don't ignore software skills, because the drone is just a tool. What runs it is software. So you don't need to know how to build the software, but you can learn how to work with the software. Because if we have dealt with DJI drones, you realize most of their drones are almost the same. So if you know how the main issues that they affect or that those drones have and how you to deal with them, you are way ahead of anyone who just have their drone but they're not sure how everything works. Then another one is poor professionalism. So as a pilot, you're a professional. You need to present yourself like a professional. Understand safety, understand the rules and follow them when you're flying out there. Be reliable and be someone that a company can depend on. And another thing I would like to mention is, just because you got your license, don't just go and buy a drone before you know what you'd like to do in the industry. As I may have mentioned before, you don't actually even need to have a drone to join the industry. When you add buying a drone, you just make the whole process more complex. There are jobs like processing manuals, approvals. They don't need you to own a drone. So don't buy the drone, don't buy a camera, don't buy those expensive equipment before you understand your footing or before you understand where you want to start in the industry. So let's look at some of the ways you can start and join in the industry now without even owning a drone. So you can start with assistant roles. Like if you know a company that does drone mapping a lot, ask to maybe tag along with them as they go to the field or watch or shadow them as they do their job. Then, like I mentioned before, build publicly. Don't just build your skills in silence, because if you do, you don't put yourself out there, no one will find you. So I usually say you don't know who is listening. So I post a lot on LinkedIn, and that has helped me get various opportunities. So, and like I said, you don't have to be perfect to do it. Just grow public. The more you post, the more you work with actual data and actual drone operations, the more you learn, and that's the only way you can prepare yourself for an actual job in the industry. Then I'd also like also to mention that you can get remote jobs in the drone industry through sites like Upwork, Fiverr, Globee. There'll be a client somewhere outside there who collected data, but they don't have the time to sit down and process it and present it, and they'll need someone anywhere around the world to help them take that raw data into something that they can deliver. So besides focusing on getting flying jobs locally, you should also try to scope and scout for jobs in the global platforms. So some of the skills that you're going to cover here that you need to have is how to handle mapping software, basic GIS skills, how to write reports, sales communication, content and documentation, networking, and safety and operations knowledge. These are all skills that you should have, and my panelists will help me expound on each more as we go along with the webinar. So if I was to start today without having a license or with what I have learned so far in the industry, it says you understand the various sectors, the issues they face, and how you can use drones to fix this, then improve your CV and your LinkedIn. I usually take LinkedIn as your public CV. What you do there is what people are watching. So choose one path, understand the sectors, and improve your platform and improve your LinkedIn profiles. Then build one skill and start reaching out to people who may need that skill. Then you build a portfolio so that you can show them that this is what I can do, and they can see if it applies to what they do. Then apply to work consistently, network, and take any opportunity you can find as a learning experience. So before going ahead, I would like to, are we together so far?
Yes, we are, Peter.
So. Now I'd like to give my fellow panelists a chance to go deeper into the various opportunities in the industry and how anyone can get into them. So I'd like to start with William. William, you can introduce yourself, then tell us what you will be taking us through today.
Thank you so much, Peter. Can everyone hear me? Just confirm. Is it audible?
I read 5 or read
Yes.
5.
Okay. Let me try and start my Bluetooth. Okay. So just once more, I hope everyone can hear me. And thank you so much for joining us. We have very many participants from very many parts of the world, which is very encouraging. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is William Ouma. I am a professional of the aviation industry and unmanned aviation systems for the past 8 years. Just a quick overview of what I've done in the industry. I have worked with Drone 6, which at the beginning, we were part and parcel of the legislation process whereby MPs came to KCAA and witnessed a demonstration whereby at Aviation House, we demonstrated the capabilities of a Phantom 4, and they were able to see the obstacle avoidance and the detect and avoid capabilities of a drone and how it could be safely used in the general civil aviation space. So today I will be speaking about licensing and compliance. So, which is very interesting because after after that little part with the MPs, they were very excited. By the way, we were fortunate enough to do the very first few operations that were legally sanctioned by the KCAA. And after that, I then went along to work with Kenya Flying Labs, which is a non-profit organization working with local youths to upscale our local professionals and our local human resource to bring about a higher quality of course, performance, especially from Kenyans who we know are very much very very industrious people. I like that we are very proactive in this space, and it is reflected by the following areas of work where I operated at, which was export drones, where I became an instructor, earning my night rating and night instructor rating as well. And to this day, instructing over 80 pilots. So it has been a journey, and I would love to explain for you, all those who are here today, what we can do with drones, especially on the licensing and compliance side. Because for those who have joined us today, Peter has explained very well that when it comes to drones, you need to be compliant and you need to be licensed. Just on top of the extra knowledge that you need, whether it comes to mapping or whichever section of specialization that you would like to come into. Let's say you would like to specialize in Karibuni Sana, the new entrants, Karibuni Sana. I see there are people still coming in. My name is William, and I am instructor and pilot stroke UAS operator. I will explain what that means. So in licensing, which is basically a small component of compliance, you need to be certified and registered with the KCAA, who govern all civil aviation operations within Kenya, which upon which from 2020 we got our civil aviation UAS, or unmanned aviation system, unmanned aircraft system regulations, which allowed us to be able to operate in Kenyan airspace on a legal level. Before, it was mainly on an authorizational level, whereby KCA would authorize you per letter. But now there is an automated system, and there are systems backed up for you to be able to go through this system smoothly, getting you from point A to point B, where the first point I would advise would always be to get your license, because to understand the drone, of course, anyone can Google what a drone is. We've seen them all over the place. We have seen the drones being used for various activities, mostly filming. I know if you're in Kenya or if you're in a very beautiful area, you can see, especially my friend Robert. Karibu sana, Robert. Robert is one of my former students, actually, from Masai Mara, and he is offering tours. So karibuni sana, and please contact Robert for a tour in Masai Mara. So when you operate, there is a sense of safety that needs to happen, whereby you need to get your license so that the KCA understand that you know the rules in the air. And that starts with your remote pilot license, the RPL. To be eligible for this, you need to be 18 years and above. You need to have your national ID or a similar document, that is a passport or a foreign passport. You need to have done your class 3 medical that clears you for aviation operations, that thereby they check your overall health so that they can say that you are okay. It is very important for you to be okay. Even when I'm teaching, I teach the I am safe acronym, which means illness, medication, stress, alcohol, fatigue, and eating. You need to be, imagine, I teach you, you must eat before you fly. Yeah, I know there are some people who are very happy about that. It is a requirement. It is a requirement. So to get licensed, of course, you start with your RPL. Of course, for the licenses, there comes now ratings. For every rating you get, for example, there is the instructor rating that allows you to instruct others. That requires an examination, of course. There is also the night rating that allows you to operate during the night. There is also other ratings that will come afterwards that include, I believe, the BVLOS rating, which means beyond visual line of sight, whereby operations such as medicine deliveries, even Amazon deliveries and home deliveries and long-range mapping operations can be done with the facility and the general attention to safety, security, and legislation. That is the KCA regulations. For those who do not know, we have recently been furnished, as of April, with new regulations that were written in 2025, December. That is by a gentleman by the name of, his name is, I believe, Boniface. But if you go on to check that entire legal document, you will now see that they've added more provisions. So you need to be very, very conversant with the legal document, which is Legal Notice 40, the Civil Aviation Unmanned Aircraft Systems Regulations 2025, which is now published and available on the KCAA website under the Legislation and Publications tab. That is available to all as we speak. Right now, you can go to the Kenya Civil Aviation Regulations 2025, and that gives you an overview of what the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority would like you to do while you're in the air. Now, for many, they think that this thing is small. It's a drone, it's a toy, it's small, it can fit in my hand. Of course, that's all well and good. We understand that it is manageable and does not require so much oversight for some. But to maintain overall safety for all who use Kenyan airspace, we are required to go through the process of vetting and licensing. All right. And for those who would like to go further, with the various industries to go into, there are also specialized, let's say, courses. For example, I could name so many of the current ATOs. They are now referred to as ATOs, aircraft training organizations, that provide UAS RPL training. Some of them also provide mapping, some of them also provide photography, some of them also provide surveying or surveillance training. So it is important for you to get into the Kenyan websites. Yeah, find who you like. I am I am apprehensive to show bias to anyone, but I personally will. I would say that I started at Kendron in Kenya, and then proceeded to StableGen, where I got my night rating. And then I earned my instructor rating at Expert Drones Africa, as well as my night instructor rating. So I would say that you are free to go ahead and do as you please with the many UTOs that are out there, ATOs, sorry, the many aviation training organizations that are out there. Secondly, we have compliance. Now that I've spoken about licensing, that would be just from the piloting side. We also have registering your remote operating certificate. That is an organization that is authorized to operate as UAS operators, okay? You need an ROC. To do commercial operations, you need an ROC, okay? An ROC is that certificate that you hang on the wall that tells the KCAA that you have said that you're doing mapping, this, that, and the other. You are required to mention the operations that you will undertake. Thirdly, you will require to have a stable, knowledgeable, that is well-trained, and adequate staff. That means you will have to have security personnel, you will have to have safety personnel, you will have to have maintenance personnel as of 2025 regulations that authorize every ATO or operating organization to give certain services, okay? You cannot have an aviation organization without certain personnel. That is also something to think about in licensing. So for those who are thinking about getting into drones, think about it this way. You could be a security manager. You could be a safety manager. You could be a head of maintenance. There are very many people out there who have electrical engineering experience. I know a few that I would say that they got into the specific site of electrical engineering just to find out that the same technology is applicable in drones. Okay, it's the same circuitry as a mobile phone for the batteries. It's all lithium ion. You will learn scientific things. I did not know so many things when I started about drones, and now I can speak about something called batteries. I don't know. It's it's a very interesting industry. I appreciate that Peter is doing this because it's important for us to let you know that it's not so hard to get into the industry, okay? What you need to do, obviously, is be compliant. So for you to make any kind of income from it, you need to get under an ROC. An ROC requires a long process of vetting. So I would recommend working for an existing company. If not, you can start your own, it's fine. We also have a second level of licensing, which is the other services, which is the observer certificates. Okay. You are also required to get the English proficiency. However, I believe in the KCA regulations, they've rolled that back. So we are currently using 2020 regulations. For anyone who is wondering, we are currently using 2020 licensing regulations, which are available in the 2020 publication in the second schedule, okay? So that is where you will find things like the RPA certificate, which is a low-level certificate allowing you to operate in Category A. Category A is a kind of risk categorization of operations. It goes from A, B, and C, low, medium, high, okay? So currently you require an RPA certificate to operate in category A. And then B and C, there are also follow-up authorizations and licenses that you need. It is a meticulous process that has been implemented into current aviation legislation. So you can think of it as currently drones were thought of drones in the beginning, okay? Let's say in 2018, but now in 2025, we are regarded at the same safety level as manned aviation. We need to look out for our manned brethren in the air because drones are becoming more and more prevalent. And to become better at drones, you need to first understand where you're operating. This is Kenya. It has its individual regulations. For those who are thinking about Nigeria, you can go to their civil aviation regulations. That is also something that I need you to know. For every country that is compliant with the International Civil Aviation Organization standards, okay? For every country that is compliant with those standards, they have a civil aviation authority. That authority is mandated to give or publish and enforce the regulations according to the standards given by ICAO. I call it ICAO. That is International Civil Aviation Organization. They gave us their standards, which are found in annexes, which are very much available on their website. You get those and you can understand where everyone is coming from, where everyone is getting their methodology of understanding how to operate or how to regulate or how to legislate or how to safely be around drones in Kenya. It's a compliance standard, okay? That is why I wanted to connect the two. So I was speaking about licensing in the beginning, and now I'm coming to compliance because there's documentation that you require to make sure that when you are in the air, you are not breaking 5, 10, 15 rules, all right? There is a schedule at the end of the 2025 regulations that shows you the different types of penalties that could be charged to you in case of course, breaking these laws. So what I would advise is learning the law. The law is very much available online. I'm looking at it as we speak. You can log in. You don't even have to log in. You go to KCA, legislation and publications, you get it right there. All right. And once you get that, you go to a school. You ask them, what do I need to do to learn how to do this? I personally have trained wildlife personnel. These are people who work day and night to keep communities safe from wildlife encroachment. Sometimes, Kenya is very beautiful. That is something I have believed that we are blessed with. And to be honest, we are doing our very best to try and keep it at a performing level. So that includes security personnel, and that includes keeping them safe while they are doing their job. And that is why I'm very proud to do my job, because we are helping the security keep us safe. They are also safe. Before they would see a lion, unapatana. Sorry, for those who are not understanding Kiswahili, sorry. You encounter a lion in the wild. You start telling your ancestors what you wish you would have done. I'm sorry, but it is you and your ingenuity. But now, because of drones, they can do wide range scanning and survey of large scale areas. As Peter has mentioned, there is a very high a very high implementation of DJI drones in Kenya. I personally did a highlight on the Mavic 4 that came to Kenya just last year, brought to us by Aerosmart. They did a wonderful job of enabling the Masai Mara ecosystem with a drone that had an endurance. For those who don't understand, that is a flight time, a maximum flight time of 55 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we have drones that can stay in the air for an hour, and that is just the bottom line. We have drones that can zoom in from 200 meters and legibly take out a license plate. Okay, so that is for security personnel to understand what they can do with. Okay, and where you operate from is where you need to understand the safety measures. That is why you need to be compliant. All right. As an instructor, I always emphasize that when it goes into following the drone industry, the first thing you need to always feel like you want to do is be safe and secure and legal. That means get all of the authorizations. That means go to a registered ROC if you are not one, and you request ROC support, whereby they will apply for a KCAA authorization, which requires certain fees, whereby you will be authorized upon your operation parameters, whether it's filming, whether it's inspection, whether it's delivery, whether it's mining, whatever it so may be. Peter has done a very good job of explaining to you that the drone is a platform. We are teaching you how to operate the platform. It is upon an individual's enterprise, an enterprising person, to find how they can inject themselves. I always say, think big, dream big, be big. Because the bigger you think, the higher your goals, the higher you fly. As a pilot, I cherish the times I can get to fly. So I often try to apply that certain methodology. When it comes to training, please understand that there are training organizations registered on the ground with KCAA that are listed on their website who are authorized to provide training, upon which you will receive your KCAA issued remote pilot license, which will have either ratings or the validity. For those who are below 40, it is 2 years validity. For those who are above 40, you need to do a medical exam that clears you for certain conditions. And then it will be an annual renewal. For those who are above 40 only, it is annual. For those who are below 40, 18 to 40, that is 2 years. All right, biannual. Okay, so that is a bit about licensing. That is a bit about compliance. What you need to just know is, for you to be in the air, you are a pilot. To be a pilot, you need to understand the standards. For you to understand the standards, you need to be knowledgeable. So you go to a school who will teach you how to fly and care for others in the air, as well as yourself and your aircraft. And then once that's done, we can move on to compliance. We can move on to the regulations. We can move on to all the documentation. We can move on to all the authorizations. And once you're done, there's also something called logging. Okay? For you to be able to renew your license, the KCA must have this documentation in line, whereby you show evidence that you have been flying. Yes, this was me on this date with this document. I was flying this aircraft. All right, between this time and this time, on authorization from this organization. It is important for you to take it as a step-by-step situation. That way you can easily take your time and not stumble over so many steps. Learn the industry, know what you want to do. Peter said that that is important. That is very important. I went into the industry wanting to know more about drones and the nitty-gritty and the inner works. So I was really conversant with the legislation. And so I got an early start with the administration. He's very right. I did not have to get a pilot license to begin with. For the first 2 years, I did not have a license. And then 2020 rolled around, they gave us regulations. And now, wow, that's me in class. I was so fast. I think for those who know, they arrange the licenses in number, so you can know which number you are in line. Yeah, so I won't say mine, but just know I got it fast. It was so fast. Thank you so much for those who supported me through this arduous journey. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Peter, for this very amazing webinar. You should do more. I believe when we all met at Konza, there was something that sparked. Let it keep happening. Maybe let's start a podcast. Let's start a Kenyan drone podcast. Michael, come on. Sorry, Michelle. Come on, man. Michelle. True or false?
I
Yeah.
agree, and because we have African partners, we should recognize my friend Emmanuel, who was in the South African military, and he's a very interested in these unmanned aircraft systems, both products and services. So we can make it an African thing. We can build from the ground up, and again try and reduce this trying to use the Western technology too much. I feel we can build and create in Africa. So yeah, we can do it.
Amazing, amazing. Let's go. That's what we do here in Drones. Drones for good. That's something I always say whenever I'm posting on my socials, because it's important for you to know that the better you can do for your country and of course your community with the drones, the more impact it will bring back. We're already seeing so much. We are seeing mapping done. Konza, the whole Technopolis was mapped via drones. Before, it would have been done through such an expensive process with helicopters. But now we had drones that did the work in a fraction of the time with half the personnel in a fraction of the cost. That is what we're talking about with drones. It is the next level of technology that we can push through. We have already started. We have seen in Rwanda, there for those who are looking for real applications, a drone taxi was demonstrated by EHang. That is a Chinese company. So we are moving somewhere. We are definitely moving somewhere. And I think for those who are coming forward, they'll definitely give us more insight on that. So I think from there, I'll hand it over to the next speaker. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Please follow us on LinkedIn. Captain K Kichakaranja is very active on LinkedIn as well. Always giving you the best info when it comes to the drone news on the ground. If you really want to know what's happening in Kenya, just go to this guy's profile right now, LinkedIn. I'll tell you that for free. He's not even paid me. I promise. I promise he has not paid me. Just go there. You will find newsletters that you can even subscribe to. He also has a course for an introduction to drones. So guess what? You can actually get even more in-depth information from Captain K. There you go. So handing over to you guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, William. I hope we are all together. I hope you have not been scared by the regulatory part of it. We have to deal with it to get into the industry. So just check in the chat for a few minutes. Let's see if we're still together. Or you can just unmute and say hi before we hand over to the next speaker.
Everybody stand up.
Okay, so after talking about licensing, I think we should go straight to the actual jobs that someone can do in the industry. So, Ilan, I don't know if you are talking to Grace about. Ilan is not with us. Kibet, I think you will cover the agricultural application side of it. Tell us how what a day looks like for an agricultural drone pilot, how it is running the business on that side, or the opportunities there, what it takes to get started. Then after that, we'll move on to drone mapping and other opportunities that are available in the industry. So, Kibet, the floor is yours.
Hey, Peter, thanks a bunch for convening this meeting. It means a lot. I'm sure it means a lot to everyone who's trying to get into the industry. Now, I can see a hand up. Is Emmanuel, do you have something to say? Okay, probably not.
Yeah. Yes, my
Oh, you
brother.
do?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to make one input, and because I've got a meeting that I've got something that I have to attend to now. As I've mentioned earlier on, I'm Emmanuel from South Africa. I was in the South African Air Force, and I've resigned. Now I'm working in Saudi Arabia. I'm an air traffic control, flight operations, and technical instructor. And yeah, I'm busy with masters in aviation management. I've got no words, guys. This platform is very much impressive. All the legislations that the previous speaker was talking about, it is an international standards. Even in South Africa, they're being applied. Even here in Saudi Arabia, they're being applied. I just want to emphasize and motivate all the listeners here that the drone is big. The drone is big than we can think of. And the international market of drone jobs is open. Even where I am now, they are employing drones left and right, drone pilots, drone operators. And there's another aspect that is being introduced now, advanced air mobility. So is part of the drones as well, as the previous speaker mentioned, that the eVTOLs, electrical vertical takeoff. And if people, they want to pursue their studies, they can also study the masters in advanced air mobility, of which it is going to be in high demand in the coming few years. Here in Saudi Arabia, they are going to host the World Cup in 2034. And the development that are happening here, guys, they are so massive. And they are taking Africans left and right, more especially if you've got the drones experience. I can say a lot about it. What I just want to say, my brothers and sisters, keep it up. And I'm so grateful to have met my brother, Peter, through TikTok. And then we became brothers. And in future, definitely, I'm going to visit Kenya. And I think I must have a residence of Kenya as well. Thank you so much, guys. Keep it up.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thanks a bunch for that. Thanks for touching on advanced air mobility. Sometimes we forget about it, but it's an emerging industry. For those who don't know, advanced air mobility, basically it's just air taxis. Think of it, you're in Rongai and you want to get quickly to Juja. In the very near future, we will have an aircraft that can do that. I mean, just city cities, short city trips. Yeah, that's about it. So my name is Naibei Kibet, and I'm the CEO of Airserv Drones. But that wasn't the case 3 years ago when I started, rather when I got into the drone industry. And maybe I'll just quickly share my story of how my journey has been. So my background is in electrical engineering, and how I decided I'm gonna get into the drone industry is a friend of mine who's actually an uncle too. One time just gave me a call and told me, what do you think about this industry of drones and so on? So I went and did my research. And the following day, I thought it's a brilliant industry and I would want to, to have a share of it. So first things first, get licensed. So I went ahead, I got licensed. I did my training at Astral Aerial. It was fairly good. Soon after that, I needed to, just a license is just a license. You quickly realize that you'll finish your 2 weeks or 3 weeks training, first week of theory, second week practicals, gain at least 5 hours. And then after that, you just go back home and life is normal and you have your license in the pocket, but it doesn't mean anything if you're not going to put it to use. So I made a point of paying a visit about, I just looked up drone companies in the country and what they do. And so I made a list and paid them a visit. First one didn't work out, couldn't even find their office. Then I ended up going to Kenya Flying Labs. I met the CEO there, Cleopa, and his partner. And then after a short chit chat with them, I went and met the other teammates, just the kawaida guys, like us, Kuongea, it tells me that Astral is actually looking for pilots for their, security operations. And I went back to Astral. Surprisingly, that's why I trained, but I didn't hear the news from there. So I went back there, I expressed my interest, and in literally 2 days, I was on my way to Del Monte, where we're doing a security surveillance job. Those pineapples are a hot cake. Yeah. And then soon after, maybe around 2 weeks or so, I was transferred to Kericho to carry on with security surveillance. So basically, it's 24 hours. We had multiple teams, and we were flying the M30Ts. Right now, it's M40s. Yeah, M350 with the H20 payload. Yeah, I mean, that's where we started. Actually, that's where I also met Peter, and we were housemates in Kericho with Peter, our host. We lived a good life, pretty rough, not really good, but it was rough. Tulikuwa msituni. It was, very cold nights and night shifts. Just have to keep it pushing. But on the brighter side, I was gaining a lot of hours. I was gaining a lot of experience. And while I was there, an opportunity came up, and it's Peter actually that shared that opportunity with me, and in the form of just a simple poster, and that was AgriLine. AgriLine was looking for pilots. So I put in my application. The following day, they reached out to me. They asked me when I could have an interview. I told them even now. So in 20 minutes, we started that interview, and it was over the phone. 25-minute interview, and I got the job. And that's how I got into agricultural drones. There, I met a bunch of really cool folks. I met Mike, I met Anthony, Migui, whom we're still friends with till date, and we're all in the industry and we support each other. It's been a great last 2.5 years. I appreciate you, my friends, and yeah, the industry is really interesting. We are a community. We quickly realize in here you can't survive if you want to work by yourself, you want to isolate yourself. You really need to be in the ecosystem for it to work for you. So I was with AgriLine for about 1.5 years, and then moved to precision agriculture. No, not precision agriculture, precision drones for 1 year, and that was up until last year, June, July. And I was a chief pilot there just before I exited, and started my own thing together with my 2 other partners. So basically, that's how my journey has been. And initially, when I joined the drone space, I wanted to do security surveillance. No, not security surveillance. What's this? Utility inspection. So power lines, buildings, water tanks. Kenya Pipeline Company, I would probably serve them with our drones to do inspection of their pipes. KPLC, Ketraco, Kengen, just all of these things. Factories, they're such big buildings, inspection, going up a ladder to inspect a whole big boiler system. There's only so much you can do, yeah? So drones actually are a big part of these inspections, at least in the modern day and in the first world countries. We can see in Africa it's starting to come in, especially I'll talk about Kenya because I know South Africa, they're quite ahead, probably Malawi. Yeah, but in Kenya, we are actually trying to make it happen. I know Mike has been on a project recently doing some inspection of the power lines. Grace, who will be speaking, has also done a few projects with Ketraco. And the list, goes on. You just keep trying every day until one day, it clicks for someone, and the whole industry is changed, and they shouldn't use helicopters anymore with that kind of an expense. Yeah. So I was interested in power line inspections, but somehow I ended up, just fate, ended up in agriculture. And I thought I was going to be in agriculture for, maybe 1.5 years, 1 year, and then quit, because I'll tell you guys, agricultural operations are not for the faint-hearted. It's intense. It's early mornings. It's late evenings. It's just keeping it
Mad for breakfast.
tight, and things do happen from times here and there. Generator is failing to charge. Sometimes you're up in Timau, generator is not as fast as it would charge when we are, probably in Kitale or somewhere in Kakamega, Western. So those are just the challenges. So I thought to myself, you know what, this is just too much. I can't do this agricultural stuff for a long time. As in, I need to have a life. It was very intense. Can you imagine 2 months straight? You've been working, early mornings, 6, we need to be on the move. Kazi imeanza at around 7 in the morning, and we are there till 4 p.m., 5 p.m. It rains. You also need to take care of the crop. Scorching, you shouldn't scorch the crop. So there's a lot of factors to consider while you're doing these operations. But eventually, something changed somewhere along the way. It just, I think I liked the idea that we were just out there in the, in the green space, kwa mashamba out there, just doing what we do. The community, the friends we were doing this stuff with, and the learning every day, it was different, different fields, different trees, different obstacles. You need to take care, of the aircraft as you're doing your flight route planning. All of those things became interesting to me, and that's how it grew on me. And now I started my own company, and we are very strong in agriculture. We're also good. Well, maybe I should also just say also what we do in agriculture. So we spray crops and spread fertilizer, the granular ones, on the crops. For those who haven't seen it before, it's just you just change the tank, and you're able to put in the spreading tank. Then you put in it can take a 50 kilogram bag. That's a full bag of fertilizer. That's Agrasty 50. Yeah. So basically, yeah, spraying, spreading, and crop health monitoring using the Mavic 3 multispectral, And another thing I have also seen about the industry is it is evolving very fast. You have to be creative. Like right now with with like the multispectral drones, what else can you do with it? You can develop crop health maps. You can collect multispectral data on crops and train a model to know when crops are not doing well, how bad they are or how good it is. Pick up stress areas, maybe improve and let it tell you this is a disease. At the moment there's limitations too with the sensors. Yeah, but all I'm telling you guys is it is quickly evolving. I can't wait to see the next drones the next multispectral drone that DJI is going to release. I can't wait to see the T200. The T100 is already here. It's already doing stuff. And so on and so forth. So this, for those that don't know, T100 is a 100-liter drone, can take off with 100 liters, and it can spray up to 10, 12 acres in one flight. At the moment with the T50s, the most I've done is 5 acres, at 20 liters per hectare. Goes and sprays 5 acres in 5 minutes. So you can see the efficiency that the drones bring on board. So yeah, basically, that is how my journey has been. At the moment, we're just trying to get comfortable in the industry. Challenges are here every now and then, but yeah, we always have to get ahead of the curve. Another part that I would want to encourage the new guys is don't be quiet, man. Don't just sit in your corner. Opportunities don't come to you like that. You really have to network. You really have to be out there, be seen, talk to people, find out new things. Yeah, I should also say my former colleague, whom we were together with at Precision, left Precision and joined Airbus. Airbus, actually a subsidiary of Airbus, is called Alto. And Alto, they built this aircraft. I don't want to call it a drone because it really isn't a drone. It would, it's a high altitude pseudo satellite. kind of a platform. So it's ultra light. It has solar panels on it, and I bet you wouldn't guess this, but it's been in the air. The longest flight was something like 60 days. Can you imagine an aircraft in the air for 60 days? Yeah, but this former colleague of mine, we used to fly with him this Agras T50, these agricultural drones. Right now, he's actually in Nanyuki, and they're flying these high altitude pseudo-satellite aircraft that supports many things, can support conservation, can support networks, maybe for the military when they're in the thick forest. That aircraft could be up in the stratosphere and support communication for those guys. It can, I mean, they're endless. Opportunities are endless, guys. So I just want to encourage you guys, know that the drone industry is young and highly untapped. I think thus far we have about 2,100 pilots that have RPLs, remote pilot licenses. But I'll tell you, the only guys who are using those licenses are at most 10% of that 2,000 or 2,100. So you can see many people got excited, went and got their licenses, but didn't do anything with them. So be warned, it's a thing that happens. Yeah, don't be one of those guys. So I think so far, I think I have covered what I wanted to share with you guys. Maybe I'll open the floor for anyone who has any questions, and I'm happy to answer them. Thanks. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions?
Maybe before questions, I think let's give the other speakers, then take all of them at the end.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Sawa. Thanks a bunch, Peter, for hosting this. Thanks everyone for pulling up. We appreciate you. Santi.
Thank you. I don't know if Grace is with us.
Okay, maybe Grace can make her remarks and I can maybe culminate.
So Grace, we have about 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much, Peter. Hi, everyone. My name is Grace. My background is in geospatial engineering. I have a training in that from Technical University of Kenya. So basically, I actually did not know this would be my path. After school, I went for normal attachment, and there I went at Orbital Africa in Karen. So part of the attachment was the drone program, and then that was the starting point. So after that, I got employed in a drone company, and I mean, from there, the rest has been history. It's been amazing. I got it as a niche because, geospatial engineering is basically, collecting geospatial data and analyzing it, get information from it, helping stakeholders make decisions from the same. This data can be collected by so many things. So UAVs became my tool of collection. So yeah, I got trained in the second company I worked for, and I was mentored properly by a surveyor called Solomon. And I mean, it has been amazing from there. So my day-to-day is just mapping. I use the matrix 300, 350, 400, almost, let's say maybe 3 times a week or weekly. There's so many mapping jobs. For those who are getting into the industry, there's a lot of work, especially in some seasons, like this season is busy. So alongside that, we use those with the LiDAR sensors to be able to capture terrain and topographical information. And then we get topographical maps from that. That is what we do mostly, but we also use those same drones for inspection. We use them for surveillance. We use them for thermography. We use them for, power line inspection and inventory, for a number of things. You know, there's a lot of applications to these things. You once you get into it, you just need to find a niche, because there's a lot of things you can be able to do with these drones. So basically, let me just talk about how to, for someone who wants to get into the mapping niche using the drones, there are a number of core skills that you need, of course. So after the training, after the RPL training, which has been overemphasized, that is really the bare minimum. You need to get trained fast to know how to operate the drone just manually. You know how to take it up, how to go this way to the left, to the right, how do you know the controls, how the safety things, because that's how it's easy to crash because of safety concerns and weather, all those things you're taught in the class. Then now after you learn that, you learn about the application perspective. So in this case, mapping, a number of UTOs offer that, but also a number of private institutions offer that. So there you get to learn how to do flight planning, which is extremely important. The quality of your data is completely dependent on the way you plan your flight. So that is not, now it's not just a drone, it's a data collection tool. So you have got to keep that in mind, that you're actually surveying, but using the drone. So, I mean, you have to remember that, because it affects everything. It has happened to, I think, everyone who is presented here. I mean, the quality of data really depends on how you plan. So there's a lot of applications for that. There's DJI Pilot, there's Drone Deploy. I mean, probably you heard about some of these things, and you're able to learn how to plan for linear missions, area missions, waypoints, to do 3D modeling, to use LiDAR sensors, because how you plan for LiDAR mission and how you plan for thermal and multispectral and RGB, they're completely different. You know, how you set those overlaps, how you set the speed. You can't fly quickly if you want to get a dense point cloud. You know, you can't fly too high if you want to achieve a certain resolution. So these are things you need training on, you know. You can also tag along with people who fly frequently and get that information, because it's critical. You cannot just get from the class today and go tomorrow to do a mapping mission. There are a number of things that are critical. Some of them are just informed by the project requirements. Some of them the client tells you, but most of them it's your discretion as a pilot. So you need to know that, because now after you're in the field, after you're in the office, then you realize the data is wrong. Mobilizing to go back to the field is very expensive. You realize these drones are very pricey. Yeah, so mobilizing again, it's quite costly. So as a pilot, that discretion, it calls for, yeah, to know what you need to do to get the best quality of data. And then after that, you have to learn also how to process the data. That is the niche you want to get into, which is also very wide. There's RGB reconstruction, so you get the images, which planners use to plan, to get master plans, like the one William was saying for Konza. That image was used to develop and improve the master plan for Konza. And a lot of other special economic zones. I mean, right now, at the moment, Kenya has really embraced drones for mapping, and they're being used for these large projects. Right now, the SGR route is being mapped actually at the moment as we speak, and those maps are going to help design and all that information. So these things are high resolution, up to sub-centimeter, which is very helpful for the people who are designing and planning. So we have also 3D modeling. These things you learn through practice. You learn through these institutions that teach you. You can learn through YouTube. You can learn through mentorship and apprenticeship. There are many ways to learn, but it gets a bit technical, because you realize you need to know a number of software, you know, like Pix4D Mapper, Agisoft, Mentorship, DJI Terra, there's TerraScan. There are a number of software, a good number of which are commercial, most of which, you know, you need to pay the sum, especially for LiDAR. For LiDAR, there is no free software for reconstructing the point cloud. You have got to buy that. So these things you also need to learn. For LiDAR, I saw someone asking, it is a bit technical, but it's also not difficult. There are a number of processes, depending on what you're doing. For topographical mapping, you have to do classification, you have to do strip alignment and bore site correction. You have to get the elevation models that are accurate. Another thing very important before I forget is the accuracy requirements. Being a surveying sector, this is basically surveying you're doing. So all the principles of survey apply, all the accuracy standards of surveying apply. So it is directly integrated with survey technologies. You have to use GNSS receivers, the RTKs, and the total stations to verify your data. So that drones are not replacing those tools, but they're complementing them. So you use the ground control points to check your data, whether you're doing topographical mapping, whether you're doing encroachment analysis, whether you're doing volume computations, land use, land cover, you have to ensure that it's accurate to a centimeter, whether you're doing building information management and, you need to be able to see the building in 3D, because architects will superimpose this information with other existing information. It needs to be very accurate, So that is the extremely critical part of drones for survey. There's a lot I can say. There's not on our side, but keep learning. As Kibet had said, these things keep evolving, they keep changing. Even the flight planning application itself, it keeps getting updates. The way it started with Matrice 210 is not the way we plan now. And even next month, it might be having a new update. So these things, but DJI keeps sharing them on their YouTube. So there's the DJI Enterprise YouTube channel that has continuous updates on everything you need to know about the DJI drones. I'm sharing mostly about DJI because they're the most common ones for most of these things we do. Keep an open mind. Network on LinkedIn. That's how I've gotten a lot of my jobs, on LinkedIn, and also keeping the network good. When you get jobs, do them well. If you're not yet competent, work with a competent person as you learn, because you realize the clients give you repeat jobs like that and they refer you to other people. Get systems and structures that work to make your work easier. For example, if you're processing the same things, you can automate the system so that you use less time to, do the job. Yeah, but it's an interesting field for anyone who may be wanting to get into it. There's plenty of work. There's plenty of people to offer mentorship there. I would encourage, if anyone is interested, to really take it up. Yeah, thank you, Peter.
Thanks a lot, Grace, for that. That was really informative, and thanks for the other speakers. So, Ilan, kindly help sum it up also.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Something I've noticed about all the speakers is that they're very passionate about the industry. You get into this industry thinking it's just, like a wade through kind of industry, and then you come to learn that there's a lot of multiple and diverse options that you have, and the possibilities are endless. And it's beautiful to see also us having this conversation. So thank you, Peter, for having us. And I hope we do more of this. So hi, everyone. My name is Michel Eland. Most people call me Mike. And I'm the CEO and co-founder of Vantage Vertical, which is a Kenyan-based company that deals in aerial intelligence products and services. And we've had the privilege again of serving Kenya and some parts of East Africa. So that said, it's you that this industry is expanding in a quite a bigger rate. So allow me today to talk about drones as a business in terms of niche and also diversification. So there's scenarios where somebody can advise as a drone professional for you to start with a certain niche. For you to start with, let's say, something like aerial cinematography, for you to start with agriculture, for you to start with survey and mapping. So in terms of the different approaches you can have, also depends also on how your entrance is to the market. So personally, I was privileged to find a very diverse fund when I was starting this particular career of drones. I'm also GIS professionals. I've done urban and regional planning from the University of Nairobi. And I got to also work with the same mentor as Grace, called Surveyor Solomon Karaoke. And we had diverse options to choose from in terms of using drones. So one day we would be in the northern part of Kenya doing some solar power inspections. The next 2 days would be somewhere in Kajiado doing some wind turbine inspections. The next day we are in the coast doing some survey mapping. The next day we are in Upper Kimbo with my colleague Anthony, doing some testing for agricultural drones. So I was quite privileged to kind of get a wholesome experience of all the diverse verticals of this industry. And again, these have also helped me in terms of being a part of the community in terms of the industry, helping new pilots to kind of acclimate now to these different roles. And I want to touch so much on the drone business and the futuristic part of it. So we have seen a lot of profitability in terms of us solving diverse problems for diverse industries, and also in terms of hardware. If you have been following the industry, we have a company called TerraHaptics. So it's a defense tech startup in Nigeria that started in 2024. So they should be about 2 years in operation right now. And within that short time, they've been able to raise over $34 million in funding in terms of scalability. So that tells you that in terms of your entry into the market, you don't have to think small. You can think beyond and see how you can be able to impact industries on a larger scale. So TerraHaptics is they are more into making autonomous drones, sentry towers, making even ground and manned ground vehicles, and they're trying again to kind of solve the issue of security for critical infrastructure. And again, also retain the data sovereignty of Africa, because I've noticed that we are very over-reliant on Western infrastructure. Because if you have been following some proceedings, DJI have been having problems with the US government in terms of the privacy issues of DJI drones, which come from China. So again, as much as we can share tech around countries, which is good, and also promote innovation, we also need also to be self-reliant in terms of how we manufacture our drones, and also how we scale up as a continent. And something I want to really touch on, because my colleagues have touched on the different elements of land surveying, agriculture. I want to touch on something called the low altitude economy. So most likely in terms of logistics and delivery. What do I mean by logistics and delivery? So we have different companies around the world doing deliveries using drones. We have a Zipline, a US company that does deliveries using drones. We are seeing Amazon also getting into the market. And we are seeing companies in China running, let's say, like a region like Nairobi with drones, in terms of something like Glovo, something like Uber, but with drones, which is very impressive. And that tells you the scalability factor of these manned aircraft systems. So this low altitude economy is kind of projected to be around $500 billion by 2035. So that means that we are evolving into a tech-oriented world. And again, we can't be left behind in terms of also automating our processes and also adapting these new technologies. And also to reiterate on what Emmanuel from the South African Air Force said, and Tibet, on what we call flying taxis. And this is also part of the low altitude economy, where again, we can be able to automate even our transport systems to be able to use effectively the airspace around us. And because I don't want to take so much time, I want to encourage the new entrants for them to be able to kind of dream big. Please, as Kibet said, don't shy off. Please come to talk to us as industry people who have been in the space for a minute. Let us, spitball ideas. Let us try new ideas. Let us manufacture, ideas and products. and see where this can take us, because I feel that the drone industry is very well rooted in the Kenyan context and also in the African context. And adaptation, I like how we are very adaptive in terms of trying new ideas and also involving all the different multifacets of, something like academia, something like, NGOs, government, private practice, and for us to be able to build a very collaborative force of trying to create these systems in place and also moving forward as a whole. So thank you, Peter. Maybe we can have the questions and also follow up on the different questions you might have. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ilan. I think we can take a few questions before our meeting runs out. So there was one on how you can grow in the industry as a freelance. I think like you can touch on, I think you've touched on that, but you can summarize it.
Yes. Personally, I have been a freelancer for a minute before starting my own company. My company was kind of a briefcase company, where because people don't really know who is Ilan in the industry. So I have first to go work with people, tell them I have this and this company, we do this and this. But for you to first, kind of penetrate the industry, you have to be willing to work with different operators in the industry. You find Grace is doing some survey and mapping, call her up, tell her, can you maybe carry me to the next, job that you have? You learn some few survey skills here and there, because I've noticed every time I try and post on my status that I'm looking for a mapping pilot, sometimes that opportunity kind of passes, or we have to reschedule it, because sometimes you find you might be proficient in flying, which is a RPL, and that is a basic skills, but you don't have the advanced skills of collecting that intricate, data to be used for analytics for engineering service and any kind of service. So again, as a freelancer, please be out there. Be out there. Show us your reels, show us your work. I do a lot of TikToks. I like visual storytelling in terms of showing people that they are drawn, they do this and this, and it works in terms of creating awareness and also being ambassadors of this technology. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Grace, there was a question here on how to get started with the processing jobs. You can tell maybe someone who has never processed any data how they can get started before getting their license and things like that.
Oh, maybe I can also answer that, since also in that space. Maybe Grace may not be with us. So
Okay.
for you to start, I hope you guys can read me.
Yeah.
Okay. So for you to start in terms of processing, again, it's a very complicated process, as Grace said. So the best way I advise, if you're a surveyor in the survey sector, you can always find a job, let's say a topographical land survey job that we are using drones. So we start from the start of maybe collecting the data. We go and input ground control points on the ground. Then we can process the data in the office. So you're able to see the different automation processes that we do from start to finish. And once you do this a couple of times, you start getting the knack of it. And in no time, you're good to go. Because again, I remember as Grace and I were starting, we used to kind of have so many problems. You have to do a lot of research, but now because somebody like Grace is proficient, it's easy for her to guide you on the different processes and how to process the workflows easier. I hope that answers it.
Yeah, thank you. There is one last question you can take before we finish. They're asking that if you can do volumetric measurements with a prosumer drone like the Air series, and if you need an RTK, anyone can.
Yes, it is possible. but it's not as accurate. For you to do very accurate volumetric measurements, you need a drone with a LiDAR. It can collect all those point clouds, take the different curves on those stockpiles or whatever excavations that you're trying to measure. So I'd advise going with a drone that has LiDAR capabilities for better measurements. So you can still do volumetric measurements, but they're not as accurate as LiDAR measurements.
Thank you. So I think we'll come to an end to our webinar. I know it has gone longer than we expected, but thank you all for holding on. Like Mike said, everyone is passionate, so everyone is eager to share what they are doing, which is really good and really impressive. So what I can promise is we will do more of this, because I feel like there's more that we can share, and I feel like there's more that we can learn. So I will email everyone here, the recording of this. And if you feel like it's something you needed us to cover here and we have not, we are going to organize another session like this, so you can share your questions with me, then we can cover them in the next session. But thank you. Thanks a lot for everyone, for the speakers. Thanks a lot for everything that you have shared. And for those who have joined us, thank you for being with us for all of this time. And so see you in the next one. Any speaker would like to say any last words? Naibei or William, then we can finish.
Thanks, Peter. I think this was a very informative session.
Yeah.
And I feel we should do more of this. So thanks for having us. Thanks for having also the attendance, and also being willing enough to organize something like this. So thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Santa Sana.
Thank you so much for that, Peter, of course, for the opportunity. Yeah, and everyone else, please remember, we are available all on LinkedIn. You can reach us at any time. I'm personally reachable in Nairobi. Of course, everyone else is. If you need training, it is possible. Feel free to reach out for any more details. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye, guys.